Hello, Steve Mills here. It's great to be back on my podcast, the Results Podcast, and it's great to be here sharing with you some more tried, tested and proven ways to grow your business. Now, today, I'm really lucky to have a good friend of mine, a gentleman called Dave Thomas. Dave and I have known each other for many, many years. We first met actually on a speakers boot camp with Frank Furness, and we were both then, I think, aspiring speakers. Since then, Dave's gone on pretty much to be a really successful speaker, speaking all over the world. And I myself have done my own stuff, and I wouldn't call myself a full-time professional speaker, but certainly someone who's spoken in many countries throughout the world. So it's great to have you here, Dave. Welcome. Thank you ever so much for your time. And so tell everybody a little bit more about you. I know you've got a fascinating past, but also a little bit about what you're doing right now.
Well, going back all the way back in the day, I'm a Halifax guy born and bred, still here, looking outside at the rain. It's either raining or getting ready to rain. That's low in Yorkshire.
Yeah.
I didn't have a great upbringing, to be fair. My mother was an alcoholic. My stepfather was 65 when I was 6 and was a bit of a brutal guy. And it just meant I had a very difficult childhood. So by the time I got to 16, I was getting in trouble with the police. I was involved in violence. I was involved in drugs. I got expelled from school and I got a criminal conviction. And that was my start all the way back in the day. So after working in a factory and office, I became a firefighter. And that basically saved my life because it was an amazing job. It was the first time I'd had that really tangible taste of success because, being from a blue-collar working-class background such as Halifax, that was top of the food chain. Everybody loves a firefighter. And it was while I was a firefighter that I kept failing my exams. I kept having a go at doing the exams for promotion, but failed them. And an officer just said, "You're never going to pass." I said, "Fine." It didn't do with any malice. It was just a statement of fact. And then one day, my life changed forever when I saw a guy memorise a pack of playing cards on TV. That was all the way back in 1995. I bought his book, taught myself how to do it. And within a few months, I developed one of the most powerful memories ever by going and competing in memory competitions, Guinness record, world record. And then in 2000, I left the fire service, became a full-time speaker. And the last 20 years have just been shooting my mouth off, just traveling the globe, 25 countries, 500,000 people. I've written 3 books. One became a Sunday Times #1 bestseller. So 1 million people have read my books worldwide. And I've done 500 media appearances, including going on one of the biggest shows ever, which was the Oprah Winfrey Show.
Wow, that's an amazing story there. I often say to people that the secret of success, or as we look back on our lives, I think the way we judge success for me is the distance we travelled from where we started to where we finish. I think that's a pretty good definition. And boy, have you done some amazing things. Tell me just first about the memory thing, because that's definitely just a wow factor. How do you do that? How do you get that level of I suppose, exercising the muscle till it becomes so strong that you've got, one of the best memories ever?
Well, it's just basic techniques.
Okay.
And this is great. This is good news. This is great news for listeners, because the one thing I've learned in the last 25 years since I got involved in personal development is that essentially success is process. Do we need talent? Yes, if you want to play for Manchester United. But almost everything else is really just down to finding a great process and just kicking the hell out of it.
Yeah.
Adapt, practice, apply, and just see how far you can go with it. And sometimes there may be some other limitations, but you know what? In this day and age, very few.
Yeah.
You can start a business for free on the internet.
Yeah.
You can get the knowledge that you have, even as a 15-year-old kid. If you're an amazing gamer, just do a 1-hour video, stick it up on YouTube on a private setting, and just advertise it to your social media feed. Just go, I've got this 1-hour video, it's $7. you'll make $70. That's free.
Yeah.
We can all do stuff for free. It's just a question of process and applying. And back in the day, that's what I did. But when I saw this guy on TV, you just think he's got a gift, he's got a talent. And when I bought the book and I applied the techniques, I found that they just were fairly simple and straightforward. Mm-hmm. And they're all the simple, basic techniques that almost all of your listeners will have heard of. Thinking images, for example.
Yeah.
So people don't think in words, they think in images. If I give you the word breakfast, Steve, what are you thinking of?
Weetabix.
You're not thinking of the black word breakfast.
Yeah, okay.
So you're thinking Weetabix. You're not thinking of the word breakfast.
No.
So what we come to understand that we're thinking in images, not in words.
Okay.
Then all of a sudden, when you start, instead of trying to, the typical kind of Christmas kids game is give the kids 20 words and see how many they can remember. And try and remember the words. But if you give them 20 objects to remember, they're going to remember more. Yeah. Then make a little story out of it. You crack open an egg and out falls a wardrobe. On top of the wardrobe, there's a telescope. You look through the telescope, there's a door. Straight away, you're tapping into the parts of the brain that we all have.
Yeah.
We're thinking connectivity. We're thinking stories. We've been telling stories for 100,000 years as a race, as a species. And once you apply those in a more formulated approach, I'll give you that. But once you kind of develop the basic formulas, then it's just a question of practice. And the weird thing is, considering it's memory and you think it's fixed, the more you practice, the better you get.
It's interesting. One of the things I'm really good at in terms of memory is I know that I could, and I'm not going to do this, I want to be really clear because I don't want to put all the listeners off. I can sing virtually any song. I know all the words to all the songs. Now, whether that's because I've listened to them so often, because I love my music, but it does amaze me. And actually, my wife's often saying, "How do you remember that? That song was 30 years ago. When was the last time?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I haven't listened to it for 10, 15 years." So it's very interesting, isn't it? How we do. How we do these things. And I suppose from a sort of strategy point of view, you're saying it's just a matter of some simple things. That can be applied to almost anything, would you say?
Yes, you can memorise anything.
Yeah.
And obviously now, having travelled the world for quarter of a century, teaching this, Feb 97 was the first time I taught memory techniques. And the last time I taught it was 2 days ago. Right. So I have taught everybody in every area, and everybody comes out and has some way in which they want to apply it. Mm-hmm. And of course, I've talked to hundreds of thousands of students. So I've shown them how to memorize chemistry or physics or mathematic formulae. I've shown them how to memorize dates and all that kind of stuff when they're in school. But then I go into companies and I show them how to memorize staff names, which is great for making people feel valued. Yeah. I show them how to memorize presentations so that chief execs can stand up and deliver presentations without notes, which almost nobody ever does. Uh-huh. So the width of application is fairly wide.
Yeah, fantastic. It must be an amazing skill to be able to develop for anybody. Whether you're in business or, as you mentioned in schools or anybody who's got a role, particularly when they're doing presentations, to be able to remember that, it must be a real asset.
Well, it is. But, the bottom line is there's no stigma attached to not having a good memory. Okay. That's the problem. Yeah. So for me, for me as a presenter, as a coach, as a speaker, the challenge is getting people to buy into it. Right. For example, if you and I were sat here and I said, you know what, I've got terrible heroin, cocaine problem. Yeah. And in fact, you know what, I've been selling it to kids on a weekend because that's the only way I can get the money to buy it. Yeah. You'd be like, Dave, you need to get off this. Yeah. He goes, speak to somebody about this. Yeah. I'll sit here and go, you know what, I can't remember people's names. They go, oh, it's fine, none of us can. Yeah. But you say to people, would it be good if you could? And they go, yeah, it'd be amazing. And I go, I've been on the internet and had a look at some strategies, and they go, no. And I go, then it's a bit like losing weight. you and I both know I've lost a lot.
Yeah. I was going to come on to that.
8 stone in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So what people have said to me, they go, I'd love to lose weight. And I go, no, you wouldn't. And they go, no, I would. And I go, no, you wouldn't. And they go, no, I would. And I go, no, you wouldn't. And they go, if you carry on like that, I'm going to punch you in the face. And I go, look, you say you like the idea of losing weight. And they go, yes. And I go, the problem is you don't like the idea of doing what it takes to lose weight.
No.
And I go, what do you mean? So literally 1 hour, the last hour I spent before this, talking to a guy. And he said, right, I've lost 4 stone. I've seen your videos on the internet. That thing with your shoulders and the way your triceps stick out, that's amazing. And so I told him what to do, and he was like, yeah, that sounds interesting. And then I said, have you got a PT? And he goes, yeah, I've got a personal trainer. He put me on a bodybuilder diet. What did he ask you to eat? Egg whites, chicken, rice cake, peanut butter. I went, sounds great to me. He went, yeah, I did it for a bit.
You're absolutely so right.
Bodybuilding stage like me, I look astonishing.
Yeah.
In a vest, or even in my underpants.
Yeah.
A 2-year-old guy, and guys in my gym who are in the 20s come up and go, Dave, you're my hero.
Yeah.
And half my age.
Yeah.
And they go, how do you get arms like that? How does your back do that way? It's got all them things.
Yeah.
Like, muscles are all popping.
Yeah.
I'm sharing it with you. Nobody ever applies it.
No.
And so the challenge is, you and I are in the same kind of boat, right?
Yeah.
What we do is to go out there, we share information because we want to inspire people to change
Yeah,
their
we want to
life.
help people, don't we?
But, Zig Ziglar saw him once in my life, 2002 in Florida, a speakers convention. And he said one thing that stuck with me forever. He said he was responsible to other people, but not for them.
Yeah.
So I turn up, I give a talk, I turn up on time, I look pretty, I make sure I give it the beans, I give it, a really good, positive experience.
Yeah.
I give more that as I can. We do stuff interactive. We do interactive exercises. So I prove it works in the flaming room.
Yeah.
Once it's working, I'm not responsible for them.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is people don't have capacity for change, my friend.
Yeah. No, it's I don't know what it is about people, but they just, it's almost, for me, it's like everybody knows what to do, but they don't know, but they don't actually do it. Everybody, as you said, everybody knows how to lose weight. It's easy. Eat less than you burn. Eat fewer calories than you burn. And that's really, I know there's a lot more to it than that, eating the right stuff and the right exercise and so on. But fundamentally, they do that, and I know loads of people who think, well, I'm going to lose weight, so I'm going to go down the gym, and they sign up to the gym, and then, 3 weeks later, they're going down there once a month. And, and it just, they know it's not working. You and I know, but it's still weird why they don't do it. I get the same in marketing. I tell people, people say, well, how am I going to grow my business? And I say, pick up the phone. Pick up the phone. And then when I phone them up a few days later, say, how's it going? They go, well, I've been busy. I've not. I made 2 calls yesterday, Steve. And it's just, whilst there are loads of other ways you can win business. Another one is people say, well, I'm on LinkedIn, but I don't really do very much. Or I'm on LinkedIn, I don't really know how to use it. And it's just, just bloody well do it. How did I find out how to use LinkedIn? Well, I went onto LinkedIn and I used it lots over many years, and now I sort of know it well, but it just takes that. I suppose it's. I always remember years ago going to a Tony Robbins event, and he spoke about having the motive for action, the motivation. He called it the motive for action, and I think that's a good way of putting it.
Well, when it comes to losing weight, you've listened to my podcast, so you may.
I have, yeah.
It. But to me, there are 3 ways in which people lose weight. One is when they make a logical decision.
Yeah.
So just sit there. So that's what this guy's doing on the last on Zoom. He's like, yeah, because really what I want to do is I'm 59 and I want to look in better shape and I'm single, so I want to get myself a nice.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So logically, he's talking through, and I go, but that never lasts.
No.
Because the emotional part of the brain kicks in. The emotional brain comes in and goes, yeah, but what about the weekend? Yeah. What about when you're going out with your kids?
Yeah,
what about, nice meal? What about, when there's a staff party and, and everyone's going out, what are you going to do? So that overtakes. So logical decision never lasts.
No.
The other one, the other two, there's another one, which is a terrible one, which is a physical imperative. In other words, you have a heart attack, you get diabetes, you have a stroke, you get told your arteries are 80% further. Yeah. And the doctor says, if you don't lose weight, you're going to die young. Yeah. Straight away, right, fine. But now you've got two problems. One, you've got to put into place a transformation program, health and wellness, that you couldn't do before, but now you've got to manage it through the problems of having a condition. Yeah. The bit in between is the sweet spot, and that's what I call a psychological imperative. Okay. Which is what happened to me 10 years ago, 2nd of Feb 2011. I'm 20 stone, 40% body fat, and my missus goes to bed. And I'm sat there in the dark at 10 o'clock at night and tears are streaming down my face. Wow. Because I've just got to the stage where psychologically it was so overwhelming. The self-disgust, the despair, the pain, the anguish, the bad example I'm setting to my kids, knowing I'm going to kill myself early. And psychologically, I just sat there and I went, tomorrow has to be different. And I went out and I lost 5 stone in 5 months. Wow. The problem is, until you get people that psychological imperative, you don't want people at a physical imperative. So, for example, physical imperative in business would be where COVID hits and all of a sudden every client disappears and they've no plan B. Yeah. That would be the physical imperative. Yeah. The business is going to literally die if they don't fly. Yes. So now they're having to put into place a marketing plan that they weren't prepared to do yesterday and through with the problem of COVID. Yes. Clients disappearing. So now they've got two problems and everything just crashes and it crushes them. Yeah. But logically, they sit there with you and they go, yeah, Steve, I get it, mate. Yeah, I should really do a bit more LinkedIn. I should do marketing. Yeah. What you want is a psychological imperative, which is a sweet spot where they come to you and they go, mate, I want my business better. For no other reason than I just need it to be better. I'm going to do whatever you say. And that's what I did 3 years ago when I wanted to compete in a bodybuilding competition. I found a bodybuilding coach and I said, you tell me what to do. And I'll question it if I think it's something I want to learn more about. But I'll do what you tell me to do. And straight away, he told me to do stuff if I thought this is never going to work. Right. Did it because I had a psychological imperative, which is I wanted to go onto a bodybuilding stage. But I didn't want to stand up in front of my kids and make a dick of myself. No. I applied it and it worked. Yeah. That's the lesson.
Again, it's the same. I suppose it's the same lesson you learned when you did the memory stuff, isn't it? You read the book and found a few simple to use strategies, and you sought expert advice as well. And that's something I think I've done all my life. Really, I've always tried to. If I want to learn something, I've always said, go and find the best in the world and try and learn from them, because that makes all the difference. In my background, I never went to university. I have no degree in marketing. I just figured, do you know what? Do I really want to learn from with all respect to, a professor at a university who's never spent a penny on marketing and who, has probably come from perhaps a corporate world and, earns whatever they earn, 100 grand a year? Or do I want to go and find this, world leading expert and spend my time learning from them? And, I think that's really what I wanted to do and what I did. And, I know you did the same, really, in many ways.
Well, that's what we did, isn't it?
Yeah.
We went on Frank's course. Frank was a speaking bloody God at the time. Yeah. Spoken in about 40 countries. Yeah. So we all tried off to Birmingham, the weekend for 2 days. And we're all sat there around kind of all looking a bit bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. And, I mean, we sat there with Frank and he's showing pictures of him speaking in Dubai. And
Singapore and all over the place. Yeah.
Like they go, oh, man,
I want some of that. Yeah.
So I didn't go and buy a book off somebody who'd been and done a communications course at, degree. Yeah. I mean, when I bought the memory book, the memory book I bought was written by a guy who has been the most successful memorizer of all time. A guy called Dominic O'Brien. He was world champion 8 times. Wow. So I didn't go and buy somebody down the pub who
who's sort of.
I did it there. When I got involved in speaking, I found Frank, and I went on the course.
Yeah.
And, Frank seemed to be a world-class speaker doing it. The thing is, he was doing it.
Yeah.
And so I went and followed him.
Yeah.
When I got involved in bodybuilding, I found a guy who has never done a qualification in his life on nutrition or exercise, but he was a former Mr. World.
Right, wow.
And he'd been down there.
Yeah.
He'd been down in the trenches.
Yeah.
Got through what I knew was a massive amount of personal transformation and pain.
Yeah.
Because it's not about what you read in a book, it's trying to do it under the white hot heat of application.
Yeah.
So if I'm talking to a guy who's great at memory, that's one thing. If I'm talking to a guy who's been in the World Memory Championships and won it, that's a different matter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talking to a guy who says, I've done it speaking, that's one thing. Talking to Frank, who's been spoken in 40 countries, that's another.
Yeah.
I'm talking to a guy in the pub, as everybody does, comes up and says, I'll tell you what you need to eat, Dave. I did this last year. I was about 3 weeks away from competing, my first bodybuilding competition. I did an event with another speaker and his missus turned up. And I know her quite well as well. And she went, you know what you should be eating? And I just looked and I was not in a great mood. I just went, out of the two of us, who do you think's working this one out? And she went, you're being rude. I went, you started offering advice when I didn't ask for it.
Yeah.
And look at me. I was in this tight t-shirt because I'm an idiot, right? Like most blokes. I'm looking like a Greek god. I thought, I'm going to show everybody.
Why not? If you've got it, flaunt it, eh?
Look at that, right? I'm not modesty for those people who know talent, Steve.
Exactly.
Right? So I've got this shirt on that looks like a second skin. My arms are bulging.
Yeah, I know. I've seen you. I've seen the pictures. You look just amazing, yeah.
And she sits there, and granted, she's in decent shape, but could lose a few. And she just went, and I just went out of the two of us, who do you think's working this one out? But that's what people do. They come up and say it.
Yeah.
And I'll just, have you got a degree in nutrition? No. Have you ever been on a bodybuilding stage? No. And I go, well, then there's nothing that's coming out of your mouth that I want to hear.
Yeah. And in business, I think most people, it gets even worse because in business, most people get most of their advice from their family and friends, and with all respect,
Never works.
It doesn't. It really doesn't. It also amazes me that, and I know you'll know this fact, that 90-something% of all business books are never read. And I'm sure that's the same with personal development and with, sales and with nutrition and so on. But books are... Sorry, go on.
Tony Robbins once did a survey of his audio cassette course, which he used to do back in
the
day.
Yeah.
He's the greatest motivational speaker in the world.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Whatever you think of him, he's
amazing teacher.
1% got to the end of the course.
Yeah. Well, this is a great story. This is absolutely true. I'll not mention his name because I don't want to embarrass him, but a friend of mine who's a speaker was telling me that he'd been to this conference and spoke at it, and he sold 80 sets of CDs. At the end, he sold all these CDs, and 80 people bought them. Anyway, 2 weeks later, he realised that there'd been an error, and none of the CDs had got any words on the CDs at all. Do you know how many complaints he got? None. So he'd sold 80 copies and nobody had actually, stuck it in a machine and tried to play it. He got no complaints within 2 weeks.
One of the reasons
that's just bizarre.
That's one of the things I like about podcasts is that you can go on and obviously you can see how many people download it. But what actually you can do is you can see what percentage of people, what's the average percentage that they want. And so what you do then is it's a bit of analysis as well, because you sit there, you look at what you said, and then if there's 91% listen to that, or the average is they get 91% of the way through, you're adding value. But it's heartbreaking. I mean, I've been in presentation skills now for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I started about 2 years ago. I thought, right, I'm going to get myself an online course, try and sell it.
Yeah.
Couldn't sell it because people want it face-to-face. They just want to be coached. They don't want to teach themselves. So what I started doing was bolting it onto my products when I teach clients.
Yeah.
So, right, it's, X amount of money, but, we've got this course here, high price, $2,000.
Yeah.
It's got videos, it's got audio, it's got cheat sheets, it's got all this stuff. And I said, what we'll do is we'll give you this as an extra amount on top. Almost every client takes it. About 90% of the clients going, yeah, we'll put that on. Yeah, we'll take it.
Yeah.
Not one person who we've given the link to, the password. Not one person has gone in and used it.
Yeah.
Ever.
I say all the action is the key. Action is the key, and massive action is where you want to be. And most people don't do it, but if you do it, it gets results. Dave, we're coming towards the end of our time. I was thinking of asking you a question. I'll give you a few moments to think about this. What would your top, 3 tips be for anybody who wants to create a transformation? Doesn't matter what it is, whether it's improve their business, improve their marketing, lose weight, find a partner, lose a partner. That's probably not a good metaphor, is it? But to learn something, to achieve something, maybe in sport, to get from where they are now to where they want to be. What would your top 3 tips be?
Those are easy. Number 1. You can do anything, but you can't do everything. You've got to be specific. The more
very
specific,
wise words.
Specific. So for me, bodybuilding is my life.
Yeah.
There is no 2 ways about it. I can't do everything. I can't be a bodybuilder and do other stuff. We get up at 5 o'clock every morning. We go outside. We train for 2 hours. We'll come back and we have a bit to eat. Then I'll do a bit of cardiovascular. We're committed to that.
Yeah.
Because that comes on to number 2. I think immersion is the only way to get any definitive result. If you dabble, you may get a result quickly, but it's unlikely. Yeah. Because the first time you do something, most chances are it's not going to work.
No.
Or it's going to work a little bit. So what you do is, Facebook ads is a good example. Out, some work, some don't. You split test, that works, that doesn't. This is what you should do.
I hear people say to me, well, I tried Facebook, Steve. I done Facebook advertising. I said, all right, how much do you spend? Well, I boosted a post for 20 quid and it didn't win me any business. And I go, do you know what? Surprise, surprise. If
people
you do
always
a
talk
little
about
bit.
Edison and reliable.
Yeah.
But actually, I was reading something very last night, because the richest guy in the world, in the country, the richest guy in this country is now James Dyson.
Okay.
So that's not family money. It's not
no
real estate. It's him coming up with a great idea.
Yeah.
5,126 times he did a prototype.
Yeah.
5,127 times work. So we understand that concept.
Yeah.
But people understanding it logically, but going through it emotionally is difficult.
Yeah.
You try something, 10% works, you ditch the other 90. It's what we did as speakers, right? You stood up, 10% was amazing, 10% was fine, 80% was terrible.
Yeah.
And you sat there, you worked on that for 3 months. Yeah. And it didn't work. But you just got to have the ability to dump it. It's the same with comedians.
If
you're going to stand in a pub in, pre-COVID, in a pub in London with 10 other people, one night, Michael McIntyre will come in. Because he'll be testing it. He'll have a load of jokes on a piece of paper. He'll try it.
Yeah.
Some will go, some will go in his pocket.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. So the thing is that it's about anything but not everything. So be specific about what you want to achieve in life, because you can't do it all.
Yeah.
Second thing is immersion. Throw yourself in at the deep end. Learn from a world-class source. Have a go at it. Go at it fast and hard. Don't dibble-dabble. Don't do a bit here and there. Get stuck in and do it. And then the other thing really is about just getting out of your own way. Whatever you think and feel, just understand this. Thoughts are not facts. Feelings are not facts. Go out and find facts. Get data. Get feedback. So at the moment, I'm doing transformation. It may be great. It may not. I'm hoping that helping guys between the age of over the age of 40 lose weight. Because it's a massively difficult thing to do.
It is.
Once you hit 40, if you're 3 or 4 stone overweight, it becomes just this massive problem and there's no obvious solution. So I've done it and I'm hoping I can help others, right? And the bottom line is that the stuff you tell guys, they'll go, oh, well, yeah, but I read about this. And I go, yeah, okay. And they go, well, but, I don't like that. And I go, well, that's just a feeling. And he goes, well, I think it's what I feel. And I go, I don't care what you feel. All I care about is what works.
Yeah.
And he go, oh, well, I just thought I'd do this. And I go, well, what made you think that would work? Yeah. And they go, well, I just had a thought. And I go, well, but thoughts are not facts.
No.
And what you do is we find ourselves getting in our own way all the time.
Yeah.
So what is it you want?
mean.
You know, what is it you truly want? It's like the guy I've been talking to. You know, he said, I want a body like yours. And I went, you mean like with these, you know, arms that stick out like this and, you know, muscles like a kid? And he goes, yeah. And I go, well, then eat the egg whites and the rice cakes and the peanut butter and the chicken that the bodybuilder eats.
Yeah. I miss my Big Mac. I think I wonder whether it's that they want it, but they don't want it enough.
Well, you know, I don't think that's true, and I'll tell you why, Steve. Somebody very close to me, no names, no patrol, but somebody very close to me is in a terrible place.
Right.
And I look in their eyes and I know how painful their life is.
Mm-hmm.
How much they want that change.
Yeah.
And they can't make it.
Mm.
So it's, you know, you'll get a lot of bullshit. Motivated speakers go, make the why big enough and it will happen.
Mm-hmm.
There are people out there, they get told they've got cancer and still won't stop smoking.
There
are people who get told that their arteries are furred up 80% and they still will not stop eating.
Yeah.
You can't. So the thing is, I'm against that. That was me 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Look people in the eye and I went, if you want it enough, you'll find a way. If you're not, you're just a lazy bugger.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not true.
No.
Some people don't have that capacity for change. And I do. You know, every day I wake up, I want more.
Yeah.
I don't mean I want more house or more car. I want more out of life.
Yeah.
You don't know when the last year is going to be. I'm making things accelerate. I'm making the flywheel go faster the older I get.
Yeah.
A lot of guys are, you know, running things down.
Yeah.
Okay, just get this money, I'll be fine, I'll retire at 60, 65, 70. Yeah. I'm like, I'm going to wait till I drop dead.
Yeah.
my aim is not to be a cheap babysitter for my grandkids.
No.
I love my kids. I love my grandkids.
Yeah.
Well, do I want to just be on the end of a film and they go, can you just come round? No.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I'm busy doing weights.
Yeah. Give me a call when I'm not in the gym.
Yeah. Fantastic.
So it's like, you know, the thing is that for me, it's about contribution.
Yeah.
I look at what I do.
Yeah.
The memory training gave almost no contribution, Steve.
Uh-huh.
The change that people made after that was almost nil.
Right.
Because it's a nice to have.
Yeah.
Presentation skills has been amazing for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
When the chief exec and they go, I've got this big talk, it's in the House of Commons, there's 500 lords and MPs, I'm bricking it.
Yeah.
I go, I can help you with that.
Yeah.
So they change because there's a psychological...
There's a point in the future where they have to perform.
But this transformation thing... I'm talking to guys who are in a place of pain. I've joined a Facebook group. The pain of some of these guys is horrendous.
I think you're right, and you know you only need to walk down the street and see these guys everywhere, don't you? You know, who are, as you said, over 40 and over
10 years
fat.
ago, I might have been one of those guys who were going, you know, you deserve it, man. If you're going to keep throwing crap down, you think you deserve it, and I'm not that guy anymore.
No.
I've been there, and I have nothing but huge sympathy and empathy. And that's why I'm going into this area, because I've already got one client who's paying me 5 figures for the first year.
Wow.
And it comes back to what you said. I don't have any qualifications. I've never PT'd anybody else. And yet I've got a guy who comes in and he goes, you've gone through it. I know what you've done. And it's the same about finding an expert. I've gone through the pain of losing weight. I lost 5 stone, put 60% back on. I lost another 5 stone and I kept it off. Why? That I've gone through, I've been in the trenches and what it takes. Yeah. And I've upskilled and I've done it at the front.
Yeah.
And that's the thing to learn is go to somebody who's done it. Just go to somebody who's done it.
Yeah.
Don't, read from a world-class source, but at the same time, find out who somebody who's gone through, because it's the pain, it's the problems. How do you overcome the issues? Everybody will tell you the good stuff.
Yeah.
But how do you sit there when you've done 3 lots of Facebook ads or 5 or 10 or 20 and they're still not working?
Yeah.
How do you keep going? When you've lost, 10 pounds and put 8 back on, what do you do?
Yeah.
You need to talk to somebody who's gone through that.
Yeah. Fantastic. So what should people do? if they're, they're in that situation? How can you help them, and where should they go to get that help?
Well, the two areas I work on the most, presentation skills. If you do any kind of presentation skills, come and see me.
Okay.
We have a wonderful website which has got loads of video testimonials of other people I've worked on, called creatingpresentationrockstars.com.
Okay. I love that. Yeah.
I came up with that line when we first started, and I thought it was dead cheesy.
Yeah.
8 weeks ago, a guy phones me up from Monaco, binge listened to my podcast, and he just went, I want you to make me a presentation rock star.
Right.
So,
Fantastic.
I can do that, mate. I can do that.
Presentation rock star. Love that.
Yeah, I turn leaders into presentation rock stars. So the first thing is, if you're interested in presentation skills, creatingpresentationrockstars.com. But if you're interested in health, wellness, then go to my new website, which is not quite finished, but enough on there for you to get interested, transformationthomas.com.
Transformationthomas.com. Okay, fantastic. Thank you ever so much. I really appreciate your time. It's been really interesting and inspiring to me. So as we said before the podcast starts, I'm a little bit overweight and want to lose some weight. So it's really given me some food for thought as well. And thank you ever so much for your time. Thank you everybody for listening. And I hope and I'm sure you've enjoyed it too. Look forward to speaking to you again on my podcast. And if you've not yet subscribed, please click on the button and subscribe. And Dave, I know you've got a podcast because I've listened to that. Where can people find your podcast?
You could go to Apple or Spotify.
Okay.
Or there is something called Libsyn, Libsyn. But if you go to Apple or Spotify and look for Transformation Thomas, that's the name of my podcast.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, and look forward to speaking to you in the next podcast. Thank you.